The soul field. Today, we're going to talk about love and the concepts of love and how to embrace oneness in our lives. My name is Megan Franklin. I am a third step ritual master and guide with Modern Mystery School, and I've been studying the Hermetic traditions for 17 years. And now I want to introduce you to Chiyona Indriya. She is my co-creator of this podcast, and she is also a third step ritual master and guide in the lineage of King Solomon and Modern Mystery School. She has also been studying and a part of this lineage for 18 years, right?
That's correct, Megan.
Okay, great. Good. Great.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to our podcast.
I am super excited to be back on the podcast with you, Tiana, because I really enjoyed what we talked about last time. Because I always learn such deep information when I have a conversation, when I connect with the energy, and when I explore my own inner universe in regards, especially to love, because I just love that concept, and it's so evolving. There's so much to love, and there's so much to what that means to our lives, and what agape is, and what eros love is. There's just so many different forms. And so I'm ready. I'm ready to explore that topic with you and to dive deep into that.
We're getting to that time of year where people are going to be exchanging gifts and giving loved ones flowers and all kinds of stuff. Some holiday might be coming up. So I think this is very appropriate.
Oh, it's my favorite holiday of the year. It's always been my favorite holiday of the year because it's like if everybody just lived that day every day, where we shared presence with one another and we connected with one another and we were it's this heart opened romantic state that just really feel like we'd have more peace on the planet because that state of inspiration and love and connection would be so present.
hmm And I don't think that anyone would say no to love.
Right. That's the thing is that we everybody wants love. It's like that isn't that why we're here?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons, for sure.
Yeah, I always like to think of it as like this beautiful adventure that we all came here on the planet at this time, and like how beautiful it is that I've been able to meet you and that I've been able to connect with people in my lives on a daily basis. It's this beautiful adventure of learning new things through people, and that open-heartedness of love can be seen in any moment.
Can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean by being able to see it in every moment?
Well, the thing is, when we're for me anyway, and in my understanding with love is when we are in a place of oneness and understanding that there isn't separation in the world and everyone around me is a part of me, then that really helps me to be in the now. And then I can appreciate every moment in its beautiful, blissful experience. And so I think that it's really important that all of us remember that there is no separation and we are all one.
Yes, I think it's easy to forget, especially when we feel like everyone's ideas and values and belief systems are appears different than ours, right?
Yeah, I think that, we tend to ha limit understanding on certain topics, and what ends up happening is based because we don't have an understanding of something, we tend to have an opinion or a judgment about a situation or a circumstance or even people. So what that does is it actually creates like this wedge of separation,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps to not allow us to be in a state of oneness, which again, we all want to be one. I think that that's a major reason of why we came on the planet is to have love, and through love and through oneness, all is shared. And we just have to reconnect with that. So letting go of these preconceived ideas or opinions, especially judgments, and remembering that God exists everywhere and within everyone.
I think that's a really important key aspect of how we can experience this love is that every being, every person that we meet is an expression of God in some way. And whether they believe that or not, it is true from my experience that regardless of how people might behave, and not everybody behaves correctly because that's who they are, and it's just who they are. Maybe they've forgotten, but if we understand that everyone has that within them, it's a lot easier to have compassion.
Oh, absolutely. Because if we remember, see, and that's the thing is the remembrance. We just need to reach a place of remembrance. And when we remember, then we understand that the connection is through the heart. And it doesn't have to be this conceptual of like, oh, well, you believe that way and I believe this way, so we can't be a team. But in
Hmm.
reality, we're actually a family.
Hmm.
And that is just what we need to connect to is that heart-centered space. And the
Yes.
compassion will flow.
And I personally, when I was younger, I had a harder time with this concept, but especially with the teachings for the Modern Mystery School and all the guidance that I received from all the teachers there that were ahead of me, I've totally come to accept that I don't necessarily need to agree with everyone and what they're saying to love them.
No, not at all, because we all have life experiences, and that life experience shows us different ways to perceive, and that's okay. It should be okay. But in proper harmonic co-creation, we want to understand that they are also a divine being having their own expression, and that acceptance allows us to continue to co-create. I remember when I was little. I was so confused because I just wanted to love people. I
Mm.
just wanted to connect with people. And my nickname growing up was Tenderheart Bear from the
Hmm.
Care Bears because I just loved everybody and I loved all little animals and dogs and everything. And I remember most of my life living very confused because I couldn't understand why everybody wasn't living like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I got really lost in my teenage and adult life. And it wasn't until I found the Modern Mystery School that I was able to really access love again.
Thinking back on my experience as well, and I was very closed off to the world. And that's something I adapted to because the world I felt was harsh. And it wasn't that loving, soft, maybe not soft is the right word, but the loving, nurturing, caring environment that I've wanted as well. Until I realized that it's not up to other people, it's up to myself. It's up to me on how I'm going to feel.
One of my greatest lessons in the last, I would say, couple of years with love and agape was understanding what tough love was. And Sovereign Ipsissimus Dave helped me with that because I didn't really understand what love could be when you had these different boundaries to teach you, hey, self-respect, self-love, self-care. And
Mhm.
so he took me on this wonderful journey of self-exploration of where I lacked in those and helped me to really push beyond my own limiting beliefs about what self-love and
Mhm.
self-respect is. So it's been such a great learning lesson. And this is 17 years in the
Mhm.
Modern Mystery School, and we're still learning. That's what's so cool about being a student, an initiate of this
Mhm.
school, is that there's always more.
I had a concept of boundaries before that was a little bit more rigid, and I thought boundaries meant I needed walls to protect me
Yeah.
from the outside that's really harsh and scary. And actually, boundaries is not the same as building walls because walls doesn't, I feel like walls prevent you from actually truly experiencing love or feeling that connection to people. And it becomes a detriment in your progression.
Yeah, well, it's like we're talking about this topic of like, oh, well, just be open-hearted and love everybody. But I mean, how many of us have experienced heartache? How many of us have been hurt in the world and have suffered as a result of our opening our hearts? So I think a lot of times we do have to step beyond that fear and allow the walls to come down and take chances to explore the depths of our own nature so that we can embrace love once more with it. And it's beautiful. I think another force of nature or force of energy, vibration is love. And love, it's a force of creation, really. It's what moves mountains. And it's what allows people to really show up for not just other people, but for themselves. A lot of times people will do anything or whatever to embrace and feel love. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's something that's important for us to talk about, especially, you know, Valentine's is coming up.
Yeah, love is not an emotion. It's just who we are. It's just part of who we are. So it's not, we don't need to find it. We don't need to look for it. It just is.
I think the beauty and the essence of love is our divinity. And it's like that spark, like that beautiful spark, the flame inside of us. You know, some people call that spirit energy or whatever, but honestly, I think that is love. I think that's the true oneness of God. And I know that when I'm really, really in flow and when I'm really connected to love, my soul shines so bright and people notice me and people have questions and that it's just a shining where the light is just so shining. And that is the place that I think is really why I'm here is to feel love and be love, like literally be love.
I believe that about you. That's definitely your contract for sure. And it's not that that's not my contract, but it's everyone has their unique, contract of what we're supposed to be doing here.
And that's what's so cool about this adventure is that we get to discover what that is. That's like this ever evolving, like the onion. We're peeling layers of this onion. Like we have to peel away the layers so that you can see what that beauty is inside. And I know the beauty and the goodness of who we are shines forth through the soul. And that love helps us to express the soul in a greater way. And I just really I love this topic. Like I could talk all day about it. But because here's the thing, there's like all kinds of different forms of love. There's not just like agape love of the love of God, but there's romantic love and eros love. And then there's, parental love where you're loving your parents or your children. And we get to experience all of those kinds of loves while we're here in the physical. And because of that, I'm super grateful for my body and for being in this body and allowing that, like having this vessel to allow me to have the experience of being a divine being, being a divine spark inhabiting this physical body, having a human experience. It's beautiful. We
Yeah,
can feel all those different forms of love.
you touched upon that word gratitude. Gratitude is super key into unlocking that potential of love within us. And that if we lack gratitude or have resentment, which is the way other side of it, then it's going to feel rough. Things are going to feel tougher. It's going to feel harder.
Yeah, resentment is like a number one offender in a lot of ways to keeping us separate from the oneness, from that love,
Mhm.
because it's just like it's like a corroding thread.
Uh-huh.
And in order for us to, it's so pure. Love is so pure. Like I said, it's spirit, and spirit is like so divine, right? It's the all. And so we have to be in that gratitude, like you're talking about, because even just me saying that word, I just expand. Like the expansion is so big. The awareness grows in such a huge way. And I
Mhm.
know people are struggling. Like I've struggled. Like the last 6 months have just been really difficult for me. I had surgery and like a lot of things have been changing in my life. And I know collectively people are experiencing that too. It's just kind of how mass consciousness is going through things. But if we can just be grateful for the little things, like I was able to eat a meal today. I was able to see the sun shining. I was able to hear the birds chirping, those little things, then we can expand into even greater forms of gratitude because they exist. They are there. Also what you see that if there's resistance, then the suffering grows even further. So it's like again, we have to step into that river of the joy and allow to flow to carry us through this ascension process because we are ascending, we are shifting. The mass consciousness is evolving in such a profound and beautiful way. And yes, it can show up in our lives and having to let go of attachments, but they're just attachments. They're not real. And they may feel real, but they're not. And the reality is that the all is always present within our hearts.
Yeah, it's like being in a dark room and imagining all kinds of stuff in it because you can't see, and then you
Yeah.
turn the lights on. It's like an empty room.
Oh no, what's there?
But with the lights off, oh gosh, it's scary.
Right, but we need the lights on. And a lot of times, like people they don't think that. turn that you when you turn the lights on like that, that there's going to be cobwebs in the corners, or there's going to be things that you forgot were in that dark room that you just packed away and didn't want to deal with, and now it's time for you to deal with it. And so the cool thing is that there's so many techniques and ways nowadays that people can explore that room that's the lights just turned on and help to, like I was just saying earlier, we can shift so fast quantumly.
It's actually better to see what's there than you could take care of it. Otherwise, you're never going to know.
You know, the light doesn't allow us to hide anymore. And
That
that's
is
beautiful.
facts.
And yeah, it's beautiful and also a little painful. Because again, we it's time for us to bring out the shadow. It's time for us to really, really embrace that light and to live in a state of Shambhala and whatever that means for us in our personal lives. So sometimes that means that we have to let go of that stuff. We have to actually go in the room and turn the light on in some cases. And maybe there's multiple rooms in the house that we haven't turned the light on, and now Shambhala and the light of Shambhala is turning those rooms on, and we have multiple rooms to deal with now. So what's cool is there are ways to navigate all of that, and I'm excited for what is beyond all of that. What is beyond the next, 10, 15, 20 years for the planet, because I really believe that we are moving in such a way that harmony and coexistence and collaboration is coming.
Yes. And sometimes, people might argue that, oh, I have a difficult person in my life and it's really
Mm,
hard to love them. Or vice versa. I'm a difficult person. It's really hard to be loved. But what helps me when people say that or when I've experienced that is just give them kindness. Just be
mm.
kind and see what happens. You'd be amazed at how people shift from a little kindness.
Well, I think that if we have the present awareness, like if we have a moment to pause, if we're triggered or someone does something to upset us, or I have this sometimes with my family. I actually just had this with my twin sister this past weekend, where it was like the situation came up and I was like a little triggered, and I could reactionary, like do you react, or do you sit back and you act later? Do you come from a higher place of love and compassion? And so I did a react in a way that was solid for us to move forward
Good.
as a unit, as again, because we're a team, we're family of light, a family of love. And it was a learning experience for both of us. But we do have to pause in those moments. And, even if we have to count to five or take a deep breath or just get back to a place of, like, I like to think of it as just like, okay, I just need to pause and be in a state of awareness of myself, self-awareness, like discovery, like, okay, what's going on within me in this moment, so that I can come from a place of love instead of harm.
Hmm.
Because I don't think people want to harm others, but we
They don't.
do.
They
Yeah,
don't
we
want to.
do.
I don't believe that because in the modern mystery school, we believe everyone at the core level is good.
Yes.
And so if we believe that, I don't think anyone really operates from a place of I want to be bad.
No. Absolutely not. And again, we can come from the state of like, oh, okay, well, we're all one, and love is, all everywhere and within all beings, but in those moments where we're being tested, again, we have to utilize a skill, like a skill, and sometimes there's a degree of working that skill or building that muscle
Mhm.
of when emotions may be strong. And I always just like to, and I know you actually taught me that. You said, you got to pause, you got to sit still for a minute. And when you can gather yourself, you don't react to the emotions, because the emotions can be fleeting.
Give it a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Give it a minute, see
Maybe
what
don't make life
happens.
decisions right now.
No, you don't have to do anything right now. In fact, give yourself 15 minutes, because
Yeah.
we're not, we're supposed to allow ourselves to have 15 minutes to express an emotion. And then beyond that, let it go. Because if we don't, then that's drama.
Mhm.
And that's us holding on to old stuff or being triggered by old stuff, being able to self-evaluate.
Yes, and if you feel like somebody is not behaving nicely to you or it's hard to love them, then it's often not about you. You might represent something that made them angry, but it's probably triggers from the past that's tied into it. And oftentimes it's very personal. It's very much about their experience and what they're experiencing in that moment.
And if we have the presence of mind in that moment, we can acknowledge that maybe they're suffering.
That's a very good point. Because I think that we could all compassion when we have a friend or neighbor or anybody that any human is suffering, that we could have that compassion and be like, oh, they're having a hard time. Open
Be
our hearts.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, be kind because maybe you're the only person that's been kind to them that day.
Hmm.
I mean, isn't that what being a light worker is?
Definitely spreading the light.
I mean, that's what I think. And yeah, we're gonna have moments where we're triggered, we're busy, I gotta get to, to the job and, people are in my way and all the things. But at the end of the day, if we have presence of mind, if we're just in the moment, it's mindfulness really and self-evaluation.
Hmm.
But remembering that we are all in this together.
We
We
are.
all came together.
We're on the
We're
same
all,
planet.
yeah, we're all going to the same place,
Yeah.
right? So
There's nowhere to
let's
go,
have
but yeah,
fun while we're here,
all the way
like,
around the earth, you're gonna meet up with at the point zero.
right. So it should be fun while we're here. It should be, have love with that person and that person. And like, there's this one song. Gosh, who is it? Someone new. I think Hosier. Hosier is someone new, and it's about romance, but it's about experiencing new people and experiencing their energies and their vibrations and their love and what they offer. And I just think it's such a cute song because if we're able to understand that all these new people that we're meeting in our world and our in our world every day is still like the essence of the divine, an expression of the divine, that's just like my heart just feels so open saying that. Like it just feels so expanded when I say that because I really love humans. I do.
I do too. Might not look like it, but I do.
Of course you do. Of course you
I
do.
don't always like overtly show it, but I do.
Well, you love me and I love you,
I do.
so.
I love you. Um, yeah, I have huge compassion for everybody and all their, hardships that they're going through right now. And people are scared, and the world does look a little bit unstable to people of what we remember growing up. And so, but it's not, I feel like that's just going to keep changing. We're never going to have the same consensual reality like we used to have back in the day. Back in the day was a pretty consistent consensual reality for a long period.
Yeah.
But now it's like
Yeah.
every day, it's like, oh, that's happening. Oh, that's happening.
I mean, the only thing consistent is change. So
Hmm.
it's like we have to consistently change. We have to be consistently evolving and staying above the times and just keep walking. Just keep going. Even if it's just small little inches, just keep going and keep progressing and keep seeking the light and the love. And I know that, with the hustle and bustle of work and bills and this and the responsibilities, if we can take even 5 minutes in the morning when we wake up to be still inside and connect with that spark, the spark of divine, our own divine within us,
Hmm.
that will help us to have a better day. I know it will.
Yes, and it's that kind of core foundation, regardless of what's happening with outside of me. If I have that strong foundation of who I am,
Yeah.
of being myself, then nothing really matters. I
Mm.
can always adapt and adjust and pivot and rise above whatever obstacles that may appear before me.
Absolutely. And the universe will conspire to serve us as well because we're operating from that higher space of energy and vibration. It's so cool to witness like as, being an initiate for this long and being able to look at like, okay, some of the things that I was like so serious about the first time I did Kabbalah, which was, 16 years ago, and then now looking at my life and going, wait a minute, that was such a small viewpoint of what I could really want in my life. And now I'm like looking through like, hey, I want to be at the top of Everest one day, like that's a bucket list. So it's like we can the sky this it's not the sky's the limit. we are limitless in nature and we are eternal galactic beings. So we can, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all the ways be full of everything.
Yes. And galactic we are because, it sounds like a woo-woo word maybe, but like, we do live in a galaxy in the universe.
Hmm.
So therefore we are galactic beings.
Absolutely. We live on Terra. Yes.
Seriously, we're on a rock floating in space on an arm of
Galaxy
a galaxy
in a universe
in the universe
that's
among
probably in
other
other
galactic
universes.
universes. Yes.
Correct. It's like you can't deny, like, I mean, you can, I guess you could, but the reality is that we're just we're way beyond even what we understand, what we could potentially conceptually understand with our finite minds. But I like to say we're an eternal and galactic being, and whatever that means, because it's super awesome and amazing, and the form of it is it's just ethereal in nature. Yeah, so I'm just really glad that we were able to talk about this topic because I think it's really relevant to what everybody's experiencing and not experiencing in their life. And I hope that people are able to, take moments to connect with oneness and to connect with love because it's just such a beautiful thing. It is such a beautiful thing.
And so
Yeah,
easy. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy anything because it's just who you are,
just embracing who you are,
being who you are.
authentically you.
Yes. So I feel so much love in my heart right now.
Yeah, me too.
I do. This is an honest truth. I'm not just saying it.
Relatable. I'm a big fan of love too. And I love you very much.
And we love you guys.
Yes, we love all of you very much. And we are so thankful and grateful that you've tuned in to listen to us.
And today, we would always like to acknowledge some special thanks for hugely impactful and amazing people in our lives. Is founder Goodney Goodnison, Sovereign Ipsissimus Dave Lanyon, Sovereign Ipsissimus Hideo Nakagome, my guide, Ipsissima Teresa, and Ipsissima Verla, and Ipsissima Sandra, Ipsissima Franca, Ipsissima Lisa, Ipsissima Kate,
The 12 Divinas.
and Ipsissima Eiko, Ipsissima Luisa, Ipsissima Skiko, Ipsissima Yoda. I mean, there's so many Ipsissimas right now in the school. Is exciting times.
We are
Um,
so fortunate. We are absolutely so fortunate for the goddess to rise.
and of course, all of HQ headquarters at the Modern Mystery School in Toronto. I love everybody there. They're amazing people. And they work super hard to make sure everything is provided for all the people coming to the programs.
Mwah! We love all of you.
I am grateful for my friend Megan.
I am so grateful for you and I love you so much. And
I
this is
love you
so
too.
much fun.
Yes. Lots of love.
Lots of love. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Signing off.
Signing off.